Hi, I'm Mike, and you're watching Spiritual Combat. And the title of today's show is How Hip Hop Was Used Against Us. Okay. Um, and I was just reading some articles this morning, and I already had some notes I had jotted down that kind of went along with what I was reading about this morning. Just some interesting stuff. So we're gonna get into it, and you know, but it's how hip hop is used against us, and now looking back, hindsight, you know, um, it's gonna be some interesting patterns you'll be able to see here. So, but it's how hip hop was used against us, and my question is, how did we get here? Okay. How did we go from this to stuff like this? Okay. Stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? How did we go from this as a rap group I grew up listening to, Smith and Wesson and stuff like that, but just dressing like men, how we go from there to stuff like this? You know what I'm saying? How did we get here? How did we get to this? You know, how did we get from this Public Enemy? I mean, it was getting to the point where it was beginning to get organized. So how did we get here? And what I'm gonna show you is that it was an engineered, orchestrated, strategic, planned out process that got us here to this. You know, how did we get here? Just straight, normal looking rappers and stuff like that to this. Just covered in tattoos, putting tattoos on your faces. And when you put a tattoo on your face, that's just like a felony. Like, I'm not saying it's a felony. I'm saying it has the same repercussions as a felony. You literally can't get a decent job anywhere. You have to stick to working at McDonald's. Okay. But how did we get here? You know what I'm saying? You know, 90s rappers, you basically don't see a tattoo on any of these guys to this, you know, to that. Like, how'd that become the norm? Like, what controlled that? Was that us? Was that the evolution of hip hop from us? Or, how did we get there? You know? So that's the question. That's the question we're going to be asking today. And don't get it twisted. Also, there's still rappers who dress masculine. You know what I'm saying? Who continue the direction, but then again, it's drill music, okay, and it's made to destroy you too. Okay, it's the most destructive music, where the rappers still dress like hip hop, like masculine men. You know, this is the repercussions of that. Chicago adds police to cut gun violence, but can drill music be policed? You see what I'm saying? So what I'm saying is the way we got here, and I'm gonna show it in this video, but the way we got to where we're at is by design. It was orchestrated. It was a deliberate process, and it wasn't by us. Okay, another group of people got us here for a reason. There's a specific reason they got us here. So we're gonna watch part of a video real quick. I've talked about this before, the Tavistock Institute, and their books. Like, they have a book on Amazon. You can watch some of my other videos where I go over this stuff. But they have a book, um, that highlights, goes over what they've learned in their research and stuff like that. And it's for sale on Amazon, and it's $17,000. And I'm sorry, it's a volume of books. It's like 13, 14 books. But that whole volume of books costs $17,000. So that's like, $1,300 or $1,200 per book. Okay. So, but anyway, we're gonna watch a clip from a video about the Tavistock Institute, and they're gonna go over a little of what it's about, what they do. So, let me pull this clip up.
Some context. What is the Tavistock Institute? Well, in 1947, the Tavistock Institute was formed to pull information from the social sciences, psychology, sociological studies, etc. I know what you're thinking. So what? Well, this is the first sign that something is wrong. And have a look at the next part. Since, although you've probably never heard of the Tavistock Institute operates with a $16 billion a year network of foundations within the United States. That is, all those foundations which are intertwined with the Tavistock Institute are paid for and funded by US taxpayer money. So think about that for a moment. This is a think tank based in London, but it has proxy money coming in through America. But where does the taxpayers' money go? Well, that brings us to number 4. A number of researchers have stated that all Tavistock and American Foundation techniques have a single goal, and that is to break down the psychological strength of the individual and render him helpless to oppose those in control. Any technique which helps to break down the family unit and family accumulated principles, that is religion, honor, patriotism, and sexual behavior, is used by Tavistock scientists as weapons of crowd control. Now, I know that you might be taken back a bit by that, and you might say, well, if this Tavistock Institute has such massive amounts of funding, then if this is its goal, then what evidence is there for this? Well, number 3, look at the change in our society, Western culture, since the Tavistock Institute has been in effect.
Okay, so that is, and it's going to come into play later on, but that's what the Tavistock Institute does. And what I want you to know is that their big thing is breaking down the family. Okay, and I'm gonna do an extensive video on all this stuff, but their main thing is breaking down the family. They want to break down the family unit. They want to get that man out of the house. And when you look at what's happened to us as black people in this country, especially after the 1960s, that's what you've seen systematically happen, is a breakdown of the family. Once they break that family down and get that man out there, the family has no identity, no direction. So what are you going to look to for direction? Well, what's in front of you all the time? The media. And you're going to look at the media's portrayal of you to get your identity. And I could tell you firsthand, I ate that bait, hook, line, and sinker when I was young. I took the bait completely because I got all my identity from hip hop and from the men on there. Now, luckily, my father was in my house, but that influence is so strong. If you don't have parents that are and a father who's hands-on with you, really pointing out all these little things, and you don't have a established culture in your household, because even if the man is in the house, if you don't have a culture and you identify with black culture in America that's been engineered and given to you, because we don't control our culture. So if you identify with that, you're gonna repeat the pattern. But a lot of times you'll have a father in the house, and this will affect you to a certain extent, but you won't destroy yourself like somebody without a father in the house, or these people growing up in the poor neighborhoods without a father in the house who have nothing. Well, their father is hip hop culture and the black culture and the media and whatever is fed to him by the media. Okay. Um, so we're going to go into something else. I'm not going to read this whole thing, but you should. It's very interesting. Um, so let's go into this. This is a letter that somebody anonymously posted to this website years ago, back in 2012. It's the website is hiphopisred.com. And let me make this bigger. Okay, let me make it as big as I can. Okay. But it's hiphopisred.com, and the title of the letter is The Secret Meeting That Changed Rap Music and Destroyed a Generation. And basically, and you need to just get this and read it for yourself, But what this is what this guy is talking about in this letter here is how back in 1991, there was a meeting for record executives that was called. It was kind of a secret meeting for certain big name, high powered record executives that they called. And this guy was saying how he went to this meeting and he saw all the big name record executives, the powerhouses up at the top. And they were told the meeting is concerning hip hop. And he was saying how at the time he hated hip hop, and him and his colleagues, they had jokes of what the meeting was going to be about because they all hated hip hop. And I remember that at the time, hip hop was hated. People didn't like it. It wasn't mainstream. It was looked down upon. It was frowned upon, by white people. You know what I'm saying? For blacks, it was accepted. But it wasn't mainstream. And it was like you were rebelling if you were listening to that or whatever. So anyway, but he said how when they called this meeting, it was a bunch of white record executives. He said how they were joking about it, what it was going to be about and whatever. And he said there was a group of people there who weren't really socializing with them and were kind of off to themselves and kind of showed themselves not wanting to be bothered with them to just socialize. Well, when the meeting got underway, first thing they said is they handed out a paper and had them sign it saying, look, if you leak any of this or this, that, and other, you will lose your job. You'll be out of it. And like they could take action against them. So they wanted them to sign this paper stating that they swore not to release whatever was talked about in this meeting. Well, some of the people walked out right there. Okay. He stayed. He signed the paper and stayed. Well, they began talking. And what the meeting was about was it was people from the prison industry or investors or whoever these people were. And they were telling the people in the record industry to push this hip hop music and to take it into this gangster rap direction because their companies were invested in private prisons that were just coming in, but their companies were invested covertly, I guess, in these private prisons. And they were telling them that push this music so we could get more people in these prisons and increase our money coming in. Because we see a direct correlation between the gangster rap and the influence of that and how this music controls these people. We see a direct influence between that and what they do and how they end up acting out whatever the music says, and we'll end up getting them in prison and increase our money. And he said when they started talking about that, a lot of people objected. And they were immediately thrown out and threatened and said, look, we told you. And they said these people here who are presenting this to you, there's people way more powerful than them that will enforce what we had you sign, which I think is the government. Okay. But so anyway, he said, he left too when they threw out some of his other colleagues. He went with him, and then he said he watched as the years went on, and it went directly in that direction perfectly. Everything went. The music got darker, all that stuff like that. It got more gangster, more hardcore, whatever, you know. And the reason I'm saying that, because I'm gonna do a much more extensive breakdown on this, because I already did a video. If you look, I forget what the title of it is, but basically, I show how our oppression of us went from straight overt oppression, where during slavery times, where it was more like this, handcuffs, it was obvious, straight up oppression, to as the oppression changed, it became more and more covert, to the point where we're at now, where we basically just oppress ourselves. You know what I'm saying? We provide the oppression to ourselves. They just give us the music. They sit behind the scenes and control the music, and we just run with it. Okay. But you see this today. You can see the results of this today. And now, I mean, that was he was saying 10 years after that, he was seeing it all. Like, we were going to jail, record numbers, all that. Like I said, I had this drill music up in Chicago. These rappers I showed you here, like Chief Keef, they call him kind of like the father or the godfather of drill music. Like, he made it go big, drill music. And if you don't know what drill music is basically music that you listen to before you go rob, steal, or kill. Okay, before you go out on a drive-by, you'll listen to drill music, and it's talking about drive-bys, killing, stealing, doing whatever to women. It's like hard, it's like rap at the extreme, and it's the main music of Chicago. And what's Chicago? The murder capital up there. It's whatever weekend, it's July, whatever, what is it? It's a holiday weekend here. I forget which holiday it is, but it'll be murder records up there. It'll be a lot of murdering going on up there on this weekend, because this music fuels it. I'm not saying it's the main driver, but it's a big thing behind it. You tie that in with what Jeff Sessions said recently. Let me see if I could find that. But Jeff Sessions got up there and was talking about how he's seeking the max punishment. He's telling all the lawmakers in the law enforcement thing. And if you don't know who Jeff Sessions is, he's the Attorney General. The Attorney General is basically over all law enforcement. The Attorney General is basically the highest cop in the United States. Basically, that's the highest police position. If you want to break it down that way. I want to see if I could find. I had that. Can't find it, unfortunately, but I had the video of him talking about how he said he wants. He's pushing through whatever paperwork or orders or whatever the political term is, but for all law enforcement to pursue the max sentence they can on crimes, on federal crimes, and if they don't want to pursue the max punishment for the crimes, they have to basically go through him or go through an attorney general or something like that. So you have to look into it and look it up. let me see if I could pull it up. I'm sure I could pull it up. Let's see. But and the prisons, I mean, as soon as Trump got elected, the private prison stocks freaking skyrocketed. I mean, they went up big time. Let me see if I can. Yep, here it is. So the title of the article is Jeff Sessions vows to him. Hold on, let me get the volume right. There we go. So okay, so here we go. Jeff Sessions vows to enforce tougher sentencing guidelines. Okay, and we'll just listen to a little of him talking. So.
So ever so much. And David, thank you for those good words, and thank you for your effective leadership as United States Attorney. And Larry, appreciate you. I just learned Larry's been United States Attorney 4 times. We call that a utility field. I won't call you utility player because you've been you're the senior member of the office when you're not the leader of the office. So we thank you, and I did appreciate meeting with the staff earlier. They are first rate. Our Hickman Ewing showed up, and we served together about almost 12 years. The United States Attorney, I was in Mobile, and he was here. And I remember telling him one time.
All right. So anyway, I'm not gonna go through all that, but because it's like a 20-minute video, I thought it was a highlight video. But you can check it out. Just type in Jeff Sessions, tougher sentencing, and but basically, yeah, he's pushing tougher sentencing across the board. You are gonna, I mean, they are launching an attack. It's gonna be a wrap. It's gonna be, I mean, it's gonna get ugly, and people need to wake up. I mean, it's coming down, and you know, you're just gonna see our people getting locked up left and right. And it's like, how did we get here? This thing has been strategically engineered. I'm showing you that this is all it. The Bible says they have taken crafty counsel against, my people. I'm kind of paraphrasing that, but yeah. So I mean, and it's getting ready to get turned up. So you got to get your mind right. You got to come out of this culture, this so-called black culture that's been artificially created and fed to you to destroy you. Come out of the sports. Come out of all the hip hop stuff. I don't listen to all this hip hop. I listen to Hebrew Israelite hip hop. And it's good for my mind because they just quoting scripture and reminding me that I'm in the land of my enemies, reminding me how I need to walk. It's relaxing. It's good music. And it's really grown in the last couple of years hugely, and you got to search around and find the good songs, but you got to come out of this, man. You got to come out of this culture, man. These people are getting ready to destroy you, and they don't realize that they're deceived by Satan. And one of the ways you could tell, there's two big ways you could tell they're deceived by Satan. Number one, they're coming after God's people. Okay, and number two, it's over money. This is all being driven by money. Okay, and that's what Satan uses to deceive people. Like that letter that God wrote, it's anonymous. A lot of people say, hey, it could be fake. It could be a fake letter. Could be something somebody just wrote up. But the fact of the matter is you do see a solid concerted effort where these people are working together. And I'm sure if you dig deep enough, I haven't even done any research on whether um, these record labels are invested in these private prisons because these private prisons are super lucrative. Okay. But I'm sure it wouldn't take too much digging to see some solid connections between it. Okay. Um, but yeah, we need to wake up and get our minds right and pull them out of this music. And at the beginning of the video, I showed you this. I showed you how did we get here. But the even scarier thing is, where are we going? Where are they going with this hip hop thing? And I'm telling you what we're right on the edge of, was getting ready to come out, was just, I mean, we're right near it, is this. Okay? I'll show you. This is what's right around the corner. These are gay rappers, okay? Cakes the Killer, okay? This is Big Frida, okay? And this dude is dang near mainstream. And this is the only thing I'm going to show because, like, his stuff's so out there and off. Like, these are openly outright gay rappers. And then you got that female rapper, Young Ma, who's an openly lesbian rapper. And where is 2017, May 28th, and we're right on the cusp of all this coming out, big time. And that's where it's going. That's where they're gonna take it. You know what I'm saying? We're right near it. That's where it's gonna go, and then it's probably gonna get worse than that. All right. So it's we're gonna read this verse. Is Romans chapter 12, verse 2 and 3. It says, "And be not conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind." Because that's what all this stuff is coming after, your mind. They trying to twist it. You got to get this word of God in your mind. Like, it's imperative today that you do that. But by the renewing of your mind, that ye may prove what is that good and acceptable and perfect will of God. For I say, through the grace given unto me, to every man that is among you, not to think of himself more highly than he ought to think, but to think soberly. Think soberly. What's soberly mean? Okay, so we're gonna see, because you know the way I do. Let's see. There we go. Oops. Didn't mean to do that. So the definition of soberly: in a serious, sensible, and solemn manner, with moderation of self-restraint, temperately. Okay? Soberly. Like, keep your mind right. Ain't no time to be out there playing around having fun, because this nation is out to get you. And we don't know. We just dancing and partying away till the party's over. And I'm here to tell you, because when I grew up in the 90s. Like, that was when I was at that age to take all this stuff in. You know, I was in my late teens, early 20s, where you wild out and you get all that freedom and you fully engage into the culture, you know. And I grew up during that age, and I watched the music change, and I watched, unaware that it was all by design, I watched my mindset change. From early 90s, I was all into the pro-black, learning about Malcolm X and learning about our history, to the late 90s, where I was Cristal and wilding and partying and money and all that stuff like that. I mean, I was a mind-controlled idiot right through that thing. Now, I wasn't wild enough to act it out in every way because I had went into the military, but I was living it out in there. And it hurt my military career. I could have done a lot more in my military career if I wasn't drinking and partying for years and years and years, and just squandering my money and my mind and my energy and my passion. You know what I'm saying? So be sober minded and be about your business and be about God's business, what he got laid out for us to do. Um, and don't be conformed to this world. You know what I'm saying? So I got some other interesting points. So one another thing I wanted to talk about is why, if you, because I talk in my Bible study group, there's younger guys in there, but they're not, like, maybe they're 24, 25. Well, they're accelerating this change so fast that even when I talk to these guys, they can't relate to the music that's coming out now that the younger people in high school are listening to. So this acceleration of change is even, in hip hop, the style's always changing and it's accelerating. And why is it accelerating? And why is hip hop always changing? You look at country music, you look at all the other musics, you look at all the other cultures, they're not changing like this. Well, there's a reason behind it. It's so you can't come together, so you can't relate to each other. So the age gap keeps everybody separate. And like I was saying, these guys 25, 26, they can't relate to the younger people like that. Well, it wasn't like that when I was younger. We could still all relate together. You know what I'm saying? Father can't relate to son. You know what I'm saying? Parents can't relate, to their kids. It's by design to keep us divided. And it's these people over the record companies and people over the media. These so-called Jewish people control all media. They control Facebook. Zuckerberg owns Facebook. The owners of YouTube, which is Google, so the owners of Google are Jewish people. The owners over all these record companies are Jewish people. They control what goes into your head unless you wake up and get into this word and you go on social media. I use Facebook to stay informed about stuff concerning Bible doctrine and stuff about the Bible and news as it relates to our people and stuff like that. When you use it as a tool, it's a very powerful thing. But when you just sit there brainlessly taking in whatever's kind of put out there or whatever you're expected to take, you're going to destroy yourself. Okay? It's very destructive. So I'm just reading over my notes, but so it's to keep us divided. And like I said, the solution, you got to stay in the word. You got to, I know, I just thought about what I was going to say. I am not, I made it out without any extreme damage, but it's done damage on my life. Buying into this culture and the media and all that stuff, that was my identity. And the reason why the hip hop culture and this culture that the mass media puts on us, the reason why it's so attractive is because there's nothing else. What's the other option? Well, now there's another option. We're the people of the book. That's our culture. That Bible is our culture as a people. So we're the people of that book. So if we put on the culture of the Bible, it's a righteous, good culture. That culture will keep you out of jail, keep you off drugs. It'll help you choose the right woman. It'll help the woman choose the right man. It'll show you how to get your mind right to where you're not addicted to drugs or to the music, or to a woman, or a woman addicted to a man, or addicted to sex and pornography, and all the the booby traps and landmines that you could step on out here in life. That Bible shows you how to maneuver around it. It's your roadmap through this minefield of destruction that's been laid out in front of you to destroy you. You won't end up in prison if you stay in that word and keep your mind right. You know what I'm saying? And like I said, I didn't make it through my life unscathed. You know, this the hip hop culture that they control, it did a lot on me. It affected my life in a lot of ways. I wasted a lot of years just being an idiot, you know? And it's because there was no real truth out there. So you just step on landmines. You know, I had enough common sense not to step on any major landmines, but I came very close a number of times. You know, I can remember when I was young, sitting in the car with some knucklehead friends I had, trying to be that thug, getting ready to rob somebody at an ATM, and you know, other situations that I was in where I could have really permanently destroyed myself, buying in, trying to be about that life, that hip hop culture, man. So yeah, it's there's a lot there, but they keep, that's like I was going over earlier, that's why they keep it changing. So you can't relate to the older people who could give you some knowledge and give you some direction. Let's see what else I have here. So like I was talking about, when I was young, I was full of energy and full of passion, but no good direction. Like if I had it, when I was that young, if I had all that energy and passion, I had to channeled it in the right direction, which what's the right direction? Towards your people, towards building your nation, towards waking your people up to the truth that, you know, they need to get their minds right in this word. It's very easy to destroy yourself when you're young and you got all that energy and passion and that lack of direction and that cluelessness to you. You know, it's very easy. It's like giving, you know, a toddler, like a 3 or 4 year old, a loaded Uzi that's cocked back and say, here, it's just a toy. People gonna die. And you're gonna hurt yourself. You might kill yourself, you know? So yeah, no good guidance. I had no good, when I was at that age, I didn't really have any good quality guidance for things about life, relationships, for anything, career, all that. Like nothing that, no strong influence to focus me, because I was real wild and passionate. If that energy had been channeled, you know, it really would have had a big effect. And seeing they know that, that's why they push this stuff so hard, because they know that, look, in the early 90s, we were just coming out of the crack epidemic, where crack had just destroyed the black folks. I don't know anybody who it didn't affect. So, but we are so resilient. Early 90s, we were just coming out of it, and then boom, we started our own hip hop and started building ourselves back up from that. And they immediately jumped on that thing and destroyed it. And I'm gonna do a video really going into that, breaking that down. And then the Bible talks about the dangers of youthful lust. So if you make it past the drugs and you don't get caught up in the crime, and you make it out of that, and maybe you go to college and you get a good career, you might even get a career, get the good job, but that lust, that they're going to use that woman to get you. Or if you're a woman, they're going to use a man to get you. You know, I've heard all types of crazy stories about women getting good careers, established careers, make it into their upper 20s and meet some man because they lonely and get AIDS. You know, domestic violence because people are arguing because they don't know how to relate to each other in their relationship, you know? So it's a lot, man. We're in a minefield, and the Bible is the way out. That's the truth. Other cultures don't have this problem with stuff changing all the time, and the son can't relate to the father and all them issues. These other cultures, the Chinese culture, the Indian culture, you know, you name these other cultures, they don't go through that like blacks, Hispanics go through. They don't deal with that. They don't. Their culture is still the same the way it was. They got a history. They know exactly what their culture is. It's not based on entertainment, because our culture is based on entertainment, sports, media, music. That's what our whole culture is based around. Okay? They don't have these issues. Their culture is based on something solid. They have stuff that helps them, okay, in their culture. They have like the Ayurvedic herbal culture of the Indians that they have. These cultures have rules and laws embedded in their culture that keep them out of trouble. The Indians are always becoming doctors. The Chinese always come in engineers and stuff like that. You know, us, we're always, well, I'm gonna be a basketball player, or I'm gonna be a rapper. You know what I'm saying? We have a culture made up of scraps of stuff that was given to us that was designed to destroy us. Like our food culture, soul food, is based on the scraps that were given to the slaves, and they made the best of it. Okay? But it's unhealthy food, you know? So we got to stick to that Bible. You know what I'm saying? That is our culture. And that's what we need to stick to. Okay? Let me see what else I got here. I wrote here, use the word to fix yourself. Okay? Because a lot of people study the Bible to learn the Bible, so they have this Bible knowledge so they can lift themselves up. All the stuff I teach and that I know, I learned it from studying the Bible to fix myself and my issues. I wasn't just studying so I could be this Bible super brew, you know, and go to war and debate people. I use it to fix issues in myself. And that, when you do that, like I like to say, you don't understand it and you don't overstand it, you understand it. You could break a scripture down thoroughly when you have used it to fix yourself. And then you could truly help other people and reach right where they need to be reached at. I see a lot of people just know the Bible out of pride so nobody could get them. I don't know the whole Bible through and through. I can't recite verses just like that. But when I hear a verse, I could really elaborate on it on a deep level. And you know what I'm saying? It's important to be able to do that. You know what I'm saying? That's what it's about. You know, that's what brings a change about. And what I like to say to these people who are just want Bible knowledge, dude, Judas knew the Bible better than any of y'all. Like he walked with Jesus. Like he could break it down. He had Bible knowledge, but beyond anybody walking on the earth today, hands down, he knew it all. And he could show you all your errors and all that. But he went astray. So it ain't how much of the Bible you know. It ain't about that. It's about internalizing it and seeing how messed up you are inside and using it to fix that. That's how it comes about, you know, and you got to humble yourself to, you know, look at that. All right. What else I have here? It says, so I got some notes here about the people who control our culture. Like I said earlier, they use sports, rap, drugs. They market that as the only way out to us. You know, a lot of people think that's their only option. You know, it's just, you know, sports, hip hop, and that's basically entertainment. You know, be a Sambo Coon tap dancer for the other nations. I mean, you basically look around. Any successful black person is in that area. All right. They market a culture to you that makes you appear low. So yeah, to a certain extent, when you look at you know, what they market to you to be in rap, it's low stuff. It's like a criminal, but we take anything and make it good. They threw pork scraps at us, and we made hog mugs and chitlins out of it that tastes better than the good food they were making. You know, they threw crime at us and drugs, and we made that into something. You know, so but we need to get into this Bible culture, and it's happening. Our people are waking up. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, like I said, again, that verse, let me pull it back up. There we go. Romans chapter 12, verse 2. Let's read that again. It says, and be not conformed to this world. You got to learn how to hate this society and all the stuff the media gives you and all that stuff. You got to learn to hate that stuff. And see where, and the way you're going to learn to not want to do it, don't just stop doing it because it's wrong. Learn when you see why it's wrong and you understand on a deep level why it's wrong, you're not going to want to do it. You're not going to have to refrain from doing it. You're just going to detest it. Okay. But be transformed by the renewing of your mind, that ye may prove what is that good and acceptable and perfect will of God. Okay. So that's what needs to happen, you know. And like I said, I'm gonna do a documentary here eventually, just really getting into this process. And you don't need any insider information, but there is a lot of insider information that's been leaked over the years, proving that this is an agenda against us. Okay. But between the Bible and just what's happened, you can see that there's an agenda, you know, without the insider information. But there's plenty of insider information, so I'll have that in there too when I get started on this thing. Okay. But anyway, my name is Mike. You're watching Spiritual Combat. And check out some of my other videos. I got a Spiritual Combat Facebook page and a Spiritual Combat YouTube channel. So check out my videos on there. One of the main things I teach a lot about is relationships. So check out my relationship information, and have a nice day.